The Reaper virus is spreading among the population of Glasgow like a common cold. To quell the outbreak, martial law was implemented, roadblocks set up, and curfews enforced. The airports, seaports, and borders were closed. Scotland was placed under quarantine. Scotland, isolating it from the rest of Britain, SAS teams evacuating the last of the healthy survivors. A Scottish woman begs soldiers in a helicopter to rescue her daughter, suffering from a wound in her right eye, during a riot. A soldier sacrifices his place in the helicopter to save the girl. The mother hands a soldier in the helicopter a letter so her daughter will remember who her mother is. The quarantine wall stood 30 feet high, clad in steel armor plating. Orders were given to shoot down any aircraft in violation of the quarantine. Those abandoned within the quarantine zone were left to die. Social order decayed along with the corpses. London shipping docks, 2035, now, DDS is on a slave trader raid. An eyeball is scanning the area. It's being controlled remotely on a wristwatch worn by Major Eden Sinclair, the little girl saved in the initial evacuation, now grown up and a DDS soldier. Two smuggler leaders, Pinstripe and Richter, enter a large cargo ship. The DDS leader, John Michelson, tells his team he wants him alive. He is the biggest slave trader in the city. Sinclair and Michelson are in different areas of the ship. Pinstripe opens a case filled with cash. Richter is pleased. Michelson enters a room and sees a woman, blonde, naked in a bathtub. She quickly grabs a shotgun hidden to the side and blasts away, but Michelson ducks for cover. Richter and his partner, Afro Girl, hearing the gun shot and suspecting a setup, pull their guns on Pinstripe and his henchmen. Sinclair enters the room with Bathtub Girl from another doorway and fires 3 rounds into the bathtub. Afro Girl grabs the case but intercepted by Michelson. Richter pops out of an opening capturing Michelson, holding the shotgun to his head, ordering him to drop his gun. Sinclair throws her synthetic eye into the corridor to survey the situation and steps out holding her gun. Richter and Michelson are screaming at her to not shoot, but she ignores them and Richter accidentally triggers the shotgun. Half of Michelson's head erupts in a splatter of blood. Startled at what happened, Richter looks up at Sinclair. She plugs several rounds into his body. Later, Domestic Security Chief Captain Nelson arrives at the scene. Sinclair is sitting down looking at the envelope her mother handed the Solider many years ago. She then places the synthetic eyeball back into her eyeball socket. Nelson wants to know what happened in there. She hands him a disc from her wristwatch that recorded the whole event. Then he tells her to go home and get some rest. Urban Containment Facility, London. DDS police are on a routine drug raid in an abandoned building. They work their way up a set of stairs, guns and flashlights aimed. The police officers kick open a door of a room and behold a ghastly sight. Several people lying down, their skin covered with open sores. The repulsive lesions and sores are similar to the Reaper virus. British Security Headquarters Prime Minister Hatcher arrives and Michael Canaris, his right hand, informs him about the infected victims with the Reaper virus. Several British leaders have gathered in a conference room that discuss about the Doomsday Contingency Plan. They must implement martial law now, keep the people off the streets while they secure the blockade and set up medical stations. Elson warns them that while confining the citizens, throwing a killer virus into that mix will create massive chaos. Hatcher requests a private meeting with Nelson. They are joined by Canaris. They reveal to him for many years, it revealed only the expected, empty cities, deserted streets. That is, until 3 years ago, they detected people on the streets of Glasgow. They figured if there are survivors, then there must be a cure, and they want to get their hands on it. Hatcher orders Nelson to pick someone to lead the team through the walled-off country. Nelson chooses Eden Sinclair to lead the team. He emphasizes to her that secrecy is vital and warns her that there will be no rules of backup. Before leaving Nelson, she asks him to look after her mother's letter. He accepts it. She enters the helicopter. Canaris gives her intel on Dr. Marcus Kane. He was leading research on the virus when the gates were closed. If anyone was capable of developing a cure, it was him. He gives her a GPS locator and they will have a gunship standing by to extract her team once they complete the mission. As the helicopter escorts her over the city, we see crowds on the edge of turning into a violent mob. Inside the government, Hatcher Augusts let the virus thin out the herd to give them breathing room. Hatcher is disturbed by this but puts up no protest. 3 hours later, the helicopter arrives at the wall. He is greeted by Sergeant Norton, who welcomes her to no man's land. Sinclair is greeted by Chandler, tank driver, Corporal Reed, a young beautiful blonde working on the APC tank. Norton introduces the 2 riflemen, Miller and Carpenter. They give her intel on the equipment, biosuits, combat model. She is then introduced to Dr. Talbot and Dr. Ben Sterling, medical scientists. Then the wall gate opens and enter in the quarantine zone. They gaze at nightmarish landscapes of dilapidated buildings and stranded vehicles in ruin, skeletons of victims from long ago. As they travel down the dark road, the APC is jostled. They stop to investigate. Outside they see hundreds of cattle. Glasgow. Sinclair's team arrive with biosuits on and weapons ready. They set out on foot and escort the medical scientists, Talbot and Sterling, to St. Andrew Hospital. They enter the building, cautiously moving further in. They make their way to the 5th floor, the viral research section. The interior is scattered with medical equipment in ruin and the skeletons of victims. APC Vehicle 1. Chandler is having a technical problem with the video feed. Suddenly, it corrects itself and he is startled to see a young woman covered in filth right next to the APC. By radio, he reports to Sinclair he has a live one. Against orders to not approach her. The team are screaming at him to return, but he steps out and approaches her. She appears to be in shock and collapses in his arms. Back in the decontamination lab, suddenly a marauder screams and ready to strike others, but Sinclair fires multiple rounds, taking him out. Instantly another marauder appears, charging as he too is shot down. A third marauder charges and is shot down. Soon marauders are appearing from everywhere swarming the team. It's an ambush. Norton radios Corporal Reed to get ready for an emergency evac. They battle their way through a seemingly endless supply of marauders as they race for the APCs. Chandler carries the unconscious girl into the APC and seals her in the isolation capsule. Both APCs take off to get closer to the pickup point. As Sinclair's team head for the pickup point, the onslaught of charging marauders is relentless. The team's weapons are firing almost non-stop. Chandler's APC is on fire as he crashes through vehicle wreckage littering the streets. The young woman is conscious and creeps up behind Chandler and slits his throat with a small blade. Chandler releases a hand grenade. It tumbles to the back of the APC within inches of the young woman. Sinclair orders the team to the elevator, sub-level 1. All now inside the elevator, Sinclair uses a shotgun on the elevator support cable, breaking the cab loose as it goes into a high-level free fall. A silicon grenade is ignited and the cab is instantly filled with an expanding foam, cushioning the group from the violent crash to the floor. Vehicle 2. Corporal Reed is spraying mace in the face of the marauder clinging to the APC. Corporal Reed heads down a ramp to the entranceway of sub-level 1, and all team members climb inside and seal the hatch. Heading up the ramp, marauder still rubbing mace from his eyes and the vehicle squashes him like a bug. Then, a marauder shoots an arrow into the cockpit which impales directly into Corporal's neck and she died. Vehicle lose control and smashes in the building and flip vertically on ground. They are immediately assaulted by charging marauders. Marauder's jail cell. Sinclair is interrogated and tortured by the gang's leader, Saul. His lover and assistant, Viper, watches. Before leaving the cell, Viper drops the GPS locator and smashes it with her boot. Marauders arena Saul, order to burn Dr. Talbot and the entire survivor population eaten his meat. In between this, Sinclair manages to escape from her cell and comes across Kane's daughter, Callie, who is also imprisoned. Sinclair sets her free. While fleeing, Sinclair is confronted by Viper. They engage in a vicious battle with swords and Eden beheads Viper. Both girls escapes from there and runs toward the train station. At station, Callie's brother waiting for them and the whole manage to escape. While on the train, Callie informs them that Saul is his son who he has been at war with his father. The train takes them to the mountains where they take a shortcut through a hidden military facility to the castle where Kane dwells. They are surrounded by Kane's medieval soldiers, and Joshua is killed while the rest are taken prisoners. Kane Castle. Kane informs them of the truth. There is no cure, but Sinclair tells Kane the Reaper virus is back. An infected man infiltrates the building and infects Hatcher. Knowing he has the virus, Hatcher commits suicide and Canaris takes over his position as Prime Minister. Kane Castle Arena. Sinclair is forced to do battle with Kane's executioner. While Norton and Sterling overpowers the guards and escapes from the cell. After a long hard-fought battle, Sinclair kills Telemann. Then sections of the castle explodes by the hands of Norton. As explosions continue, the four of them battle their way out of the castle. On horseback, they retreat to an underground facility and find a Bentley in storage. Sinclair and others decide to use the Bentley in an escape, but Norton is killed by Kane's men in the process. In the Bentley, they race back to the quarantine wall, confronting a long, high-speed road battle with Saul's marauders. Saul attempts to hijack the Bentley, but while he is on the roof, Sinclair plows the car through a roadblocked bus, decapitating him. Using a GPS cell phone also taken from the facility, Sinclair summons a government gunship and hands over the cure to Canaris, the immune survivor Callie, from whose blood a vaccine can be replicated. Canaris shares his plan with Sinclair to withhold the cure for political reasons and invites her back to London. But Sinclair chooses to stay behind instead of returning to London. Sinclair goes to find her old home located at the address on the envelope her mother had left her. Nelson, having been given the envelope by Sinclair before she left on the mission, finds her there. Sinclair provides Nelson a video of her conversation with Canaris, which she recorded with her cybernetic eye. Nelson takes the recording back to London and airs it publicly, exposing Canaris' plan to hold back the cure. Sinclair returns to the location where she and her team were first attacked by the cannibalistic tribe and, presenting them with Soul's severed head, is cheered as their new leader. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.